seen all this weird stuff happening in New York?
What are you saying?
Thanos and his forces have begun an assault on your world even as we speak.
Well, then I've got to get down there with the Avengers and take on this Thanos.
Thanos' strength is unrivaled. You will lose, even with your powerful friends fighting alongside you.
Warnings were right.
Okay guys, so as promised, here comes another Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. video, and on this video, we're going to be talking the situation with the series. Now I've had to get into the argument of whether or not this is a different timeline a lot over this season. At all times I did state that I think that this is a different timeline. This is not the original timeline, you know, the one from seasons 1 through 5, and the one that's pretty much effective in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the movie side of things. Now this has been my argument since forever, since they announced that this season is set pre-snap. That was done during WonderCon back in April, and I did say back then, okay, you know what, I think they're doing something different. They're trying to set everything in a different timeline. They're going to give us reasoning at some point, and then after season 6 is said and done, they're going to find a way to join back in the main Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline, and it's all because lack of knowledge when it comes to what happens on Endgame. But right now, right here, I'm taking back that, feeling of assurance that they're gonna do this, rejoin in with the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline. I know, during San Diego Comic-Con, they sort of promised that they are going to reference Infinity War and reference Endgame. And I know a lot of people got excited over that. I know a lot of people do expect references, flat-out references, to both Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War on Season 7 of the series. But what I'm thinking over here is when they were asked the question of referencing the movies, the phrases they used to answer those questions were, yeah, probably, in a way. And these kind of statements, these kind of answers makes me think, okay, maybe they're not going to actually reference the snap, maybe they're not going to actually reference Endgame, but they're possibly going to give us something that kind of parallels the events of either or both movies. Think about it this way, on Season 4 you did not get a straight flat-out reference to Doctor Strange, but you rather got the Ghost Rider. You got talk about the Dark Dimension, you got that portal that the Ghost Rider created by the end of the season, all of which put together felt very related to what we're seeing on the movie side, but you did not get a flat-out reference to Doctor Strange. And that's the point I'm trying to make over here. You got some kind of parallel on Season 4 to the very thing that was happening in the greater Marvel Cinematic Universe. But let us start though with the events of the series that proves that they are not in the same timeline. Okay, so first and foremost we've got the events from the finale of Season 5, well the final few episodes as well, and we've got everything happening over there in parallel with the events of Infinity War. We've got a lot of references there. It's almost the Battle of Wakanda, if not actually late in the Battle of Wakanda, when Coulson is there in Tahiti with May and about to live the rest of his days. But the thing is, they changed things. The last reference to Infinity War that we did hear of was prior to the change to the timeline. After that, we never heard anything, any kind of reference to Infinity War. They were always supposed to save the world in order for Infinity War to happen. I mean, graviton should never happen to Earth, like destroy Earth. The Kree, the 2091 future, all of that should not have happened because when you kind of think about it, you would have had no snap, you would have had no 2023 events of Avengers Endgame, so that's gotta be done, they've gotta stop that. But at the same time, there are possibly multiple solutions to get out of that situation, to stop graviton, to save the planet, and only one of them would happen in the timeline that continues with the events of Infinity War and the events of Avengers Endgame. Other methods, other possibilities do happen, but according to the rules of time travel that we know from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and that we know from Avengers Endgame, multiverse theory, the creation of new timelines, every time you change an event that's supposed to happen in a given timeline, whatever the team did at the end of Season 5 did change things. It wasn't the same way that the Earth was supposed to be saved in order for the rest of the events of Infinity War and Avengers Endgame to happen. So you've got ripple effects through time, and these ripple effects through time might have affected what happened in Infinity War, like Thor possibly going for the head. So yeah, what we've got over here is definitely a different timeline. That's why Jeff Loeb was so coy about it. That's why he stated during WonderCon, we've got a logic about it. You just watch, enjoy, and you're gonna realize it by the end. But on the other hand though, the Chronicons have taken over the planet by the end of Season 6. They're ruling Earth, it's their Chronicon 3 now, and you cannot think for a single moment that this possibility does exist, that this basically happened during the 5 years time jump on Avengers Endgame. I mean, after Thanos, the state that Black Widow was in, looking into every single detail, the earthquake in the ocean, this kind of thing you would think would have been noticeable. I mean, there would have been no Avengers Endgame to start with, but it would have been noticeable. And those that remained out of the Avengers would have looked into it. Cap, Rhodey, Thor, Bruce Banner, all of those people would have looked into it. So that is most definitely a different timeline. But okay, the Chronicons have been set up to be the villains of the upcoming season, Malachi and co. The only good one out of these Chronicons happens to be Enoch, and he's pretty much working with the agents at the moment. So I'm pretty much thinking about the impact of all of this, how all of this is going to work on the upcoming season, and I'm thinking to start with, there are going to be adventures all over time, ending up in the present, where the Chronicons are at, and defeating them. I don't think they're going to try to change time. I don't think they're going to try to stop the Chronicons before they invade the planet. I think they're going to come back to the same point that they left, and then they're going to bring about the change, which means that we're looking at an Endgame-like scenario. What they're doing in the past at the moment is they're looking for ways in order to be able to defeat the Chronicons, but they're not really looking to defeat the Chronicons in the past. I know, a lot of people started thinking time travel and they went, oh, that's such a cop-out, that's just lazy writing. But these two were just generic statements, especially the lazy writing one, because everyone who commented on this and kinda hated it used the same statement, oh, time travel, that's just lazy writing. So yeah, generic statements. One person said it before and then everyone is repeating it without even thinking about how they're gonna do time travel. Avengers Endgame did time travel. I loved it. I know some people might not have. I'm not saying everyone has to love it, but the majority of people who watched that movie loved it. Proof is the ratings of the movie, proof is how many times some people ended up watching it, and proof is it's become the all-time #1 in box office records. So yeah, it is a pretty good movie. The way they did time travel, that was pretty good as well. It was pretty convincing. I mean, they didn't go back in time, try to change timelines. They even made fun of a lot of time travel movies. They actually discussed the physics of all of it. Granted, it's theoretical, but nonetheless, they discussed the science behind it. So yeah, they made it work. It was all about the time heist, bringing back the stones to the future and then using them in the future to bring back everyone that they have lost. So yeah, it was a pretty good way to do things, and it is possible that that's what they're doing with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is possible as well that's going to be their reference to the movies. I mean, the story is going to be different. They're going to be finding the Chronicons, kind of trying to get them out of our planet, but nonetheless, you will be able to see the parallel. Okay, so someone is about to type the comment if they don't reference Avengers Endgame or Avengers Infinity War, or if I get that vibe from the very beginning of the season, I'm just not going to watch. Now, I apologize in advance for what I'm about to say over here, but that's like one of the most shallow things I've ever heard in my life. So you're watching a series with its own story, you want to watch it for the story, supposedly, but then you've decided you're gonna watch it for the references and the Easter eggs to the movie side of things, because then it would be vague and hollow and would have no story, no real story of its own, and that would just please you. Oh, but we want to see what happens between the snap and the returning of the other people, like we want someone to explore that period. Well, you've got the Kevin Feige side of things. They created the snap, they brought everyone back, they did the 5-year time jump, and if they thought there were good stories to be told within those 5 years, I would assume that Kevin Feige would have jumped at the chance. So no, there are probably no good stories to tell. I mean, they're not gonna start acting like cops, stopping people from vandalizing stores and whatnot. So yeah, that's not gonna work. Another thing is, though, that the Marvel Television side, the, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. producers and whatnot, they're gonna be damned if they do and damned if they don't. So if they present us with a snap at some point, but they don't snap anyone out of the team, we're gonna be complaining, like, why did they not snap anyone? Why is everyone in that team immune to the snap? No one will understand that they don't want to be forced into a corner, forced into a story, that they pretty much want to work with their own thing and deal with it, and one person or the other or so many people are going to complain at that point. Now, if they do the snap and they snap someone out of the team and that person is someone's favorite out there, they're going to complain. Why did you snap Fitz, or snap Simmons, or snap Daisy, or snap Coulson, or snap May, or snap whoever? You're gonna be like, okay, why didn't you snap that guy? I don't like that guy on the series. And that guy on the series is the favorite of someone else. So if they would have snapped him, someone else would have complained. It's damned if you do, damned if you don't. And it's gonna be a controversy, it's gonna be painful, it's gonna be too much work to deal with. And especially that they're on their final season, so they want to go out with a bang, they want to present us with a story from their perspective, not one forced on them by Marvel Studios. But okay though, for those dying for an Avengers Endgame, Avengers Infinity War reference, like a flat out reference, like the snap happened kind of reference, you've got the other option, and that's where that very lazy writing, that very, cop-out does happen, and if they go with that, that's pretty much where a lot of people are still going to complain, even those who are complaining right now about the Avengers Endgame and Avengers Infinity War tie-ins. So they go to the past, they change something in the past, something that brings both timelines to become identical to one another in a way that kind of merges both timelines. Now there's no science behind that, they could just do it because they can, because it is the final season, and because they want to give some fans the kind of tie-in and reference that they want, and in that case they could end the series back in 2018, right at the time of the snap, and we could see someone, one or two or more members out of the team, being snapped. It's the kind of bittersweet ending that they promised. I mean, it is bitter because some team members are going to be missing other team members for a whole 5 years. That possibly could be Fitz and Simmons. One of them might get snapped because, hey, Fitz, Simmons, and we gotta end every season on some kind of separation of the two of them. But the sweet part though would be about us knowing that they're gonna reunite in 5 years, or that they do a time jump and give us the reunion. They might even give us a cameo out of the movies, even though I don't think that's all that possible due to budget constraints, like the budget of the series is extremely low. It's been cut in half after cutting the seasons in half, and the original budget for the original number of episodes was already reduced when the series was renewed for season 5. But to cut a long story short, I do believe that Team S.H.I.E.L.D. ended up dead at some point. I mean, Fitz and Simmons did live for a few years there, trying to build a time jump drive, trying to work it all out. But the rest of the team was targeted at that point by Malachi and the Chronicons, and they did die, and that's why Simmons comes to that point to try and save them, try and pick them out of the timeline, so she could use the entire team, their help and support in order to achieve whatever she's set to achieve. I was though expecting throughout the finale something different, like Azel and Sarge are gonna be victorious, they're gonna kill the entire team. There was a moment there that Yo-Yo was almost dead, she was actually dead for a moment. There was a moment that May was dead, and there was a moment where Mac was getting beatings, non-stop beatings, and Daisy with all her power was pretty much unable to beat Pachakutik. So I was thinking over there, they're all gonna die. Fitz and Simmons are gonna go around the timeline trying to pick up members of the team from all across time in order to be able to fight the Chronicon threat, and while at the same time planning to bring them back to the same point in the timeline. And that would have been a perfect reference to Avengers Endgame, like picking these people at different points in time, just like they picked the stones on the movie from different points in time and different places, and just brought them together in present day in order to, bring back everyone. But one last thing though, after posting my review of the finale of the season, I did think about this little bit of a reference to Avengers Endgame. The team that traveled to the past did pick the stones from different points in time, and did pick the stones from different places. And at the same time, Simmons and her S.H.I.E.L.D. team in hazmat suits did pick pieces of the Time Monolith, the Space Monolith, and the Creation Monolith. Now, is it possible that all of this was meant to be a reference to Avengers Endgame, like Simmons lived a few years into the future, came back in time, and picked these pieces, had her team pick these pieces for her? I'd say it's possibly a reference. I'd say this piece has been added last minute after Avengers Endgame released, or when Jeff Loeb and the producers got to know more about Avengers Endgame, like, okay, we're not giving you an Avengers Endgame experience, but we're giving you this little Easter egg over here. But that though, having been said, let me know in the comments down below what you thought of the finale. If you haven't already told me your opinion on my review video, let me know as well. If you did like this video by dropping it a much appreciated like, subscribing to this channel, and make sure while you're at it to enable notifications in order to get updated whenever I upload a new video, publish a new community post, or start a new live stream. My next video, by the way, is going to be all about my predictions for the 7th season of the series, and then I'm going to start doing those rewatch videos. Get to finish what I started right before season 6 aired, like halfway through season 1 is where I stopped then, and I'm going to continue from there. But until the next time that you tune in for another one of my videos, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or otherwise, thank you so much for tuning in to this video, and have a great day.